The lesson that we're going to learn today is lesson 2.1, multiplying fractions. Okay, and today we're just going to deal with multiplying fractions by other fractions. Okay, so our learning target is I can multiply fractions. All right, and multiplying fractions is pretty basic. I think you guys are actually going to like multiplying fractions because it comes very naturally, but it is different than adding fractions, which is how some of us get messed up. Okay, so to multiply fractions, the very first thing we do is multiply the top numbers together. Those top numbers are called numerators. All right, once we multiply those top numbers together, we then multiply the bottom numbers together. And those bottom numbers are called denominators. All right, and then we get an answer, and we just have to lastly simplify the fraction. And that's it. That's how we multiply fractions by fractions. One thing we do need to remember, though, is if we're multiplying it by a whole number, like our example down here, we have to be able to write that whole number as a fraction. And we write a whole number as a fraction by placing a 1 underneath it. Okay, so 7 written as a fraction is 7 over 1. All right, so on your paper, I want you to write 9 as a fraction. It would be 9 over 1. Okay, let's work on some examples. Example number 1, 1/3 times 2/5. All right, so we're going to multiply our top numbers, 1 times 2 and 3 times 5. 1 times 2 is 2, 3 times 5 is 15. And that is going to be our final answer. All right, we can't simplify them. The only number 2 can be divided by is 2, and 15 can't be divided by 2. All right, let's move on to the next example. Multiply our top numbers together, that would be 4 times 3. Multiply our bottom numbers together, that's 7 times 4. 4 times 3 gives us 12. 7 times 4 gives us 28. Now what I'm going to notice is both these numbers are even, so I know that they both can at least be divided by 2. Okay. And 12 divided by 2, I'm just going to kind of bring this work down here, is going to be 6. 28 divided by 2 is going to be 14. And here I'm going to notice they can be divided by 2 again. Okay, so I got to keep going until I can't simplify it anymore. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So here we get 3/7, and 3 and 7 cannot both be divided by the same numbers, so we are good to go. We could have noticed that 12 and 28 also could both be divided by 4 right away and gotten to 3/7, but if you don't notice it, that's okay to keep showing those steps and keep going. All right. I would like you to pause the video and try these next 2 examples on your own. Remember, we write 5 as a fraction before multiplying. All right, so if we are watching right now, we should have already completed these problems and we are just watching this video to check. So we have 1/2 times 5. We have to make 5 into a fraction. 5 is a fraction, 5 over 1. Top numbers are 1 times 5, so we do 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 1 is 2. Now 5 over 2 can be simplified because it's an improper fraction. The number on top is bigger than the number on the bottom. So we say, how many times can 2 go into 5? Well, 2 can go into 5 2 whole times, because that would be 4. And if we took away those 4, we'd have 1 of those 2 left. Okay, so we would have 2.5. Number 4. We have our numerators 7 and 2, so 7 times 2 is 14. Denominators 8 times 5. 8 times 5 is 40. They're both even, so they can at least be divided by 2. So let's just start there and see if we can keep going. 14 divided by 2 is 7. I always do that. Give you the answer before you're ready. And then 40 divided by 2 is 20. 7 and 20 cannot be divided by the same number besides 1, so we are done with that one. All right, and that is how you multiply fractions by fractions using the algorithm. However, there is one other skill that we do need to learn, and that's using the model. Okay, and this is going to show you why we get an answer that is smaller than both of these fractions, and why we don't need a common denominator when we multiply. Okay. You have 2/3 of a bag of flour. You use 3/4 of that flour, of that 2/3 of a bag. I know I say that word funny, it's fine. Use 3/4 of the flour to make empanada dough. If you don't know what empanadas are, they're right down here. They're delicious. How much of the entire bag do you use to make the dough? Okay, so we only have 2/3 of a bag, and we need to use 3/4 of that amount. Okay, so we're taking 3/4 of 2/3. This word of is huge. Okay, if we're having a number and we're taking something of another number, that of always means multiply. Sorry, I'm not gonna be able to finish that on my page. Of always means multiply. So if we're taking 3/4 of 2/3, we're multiplying these fractions. Okay, but we want to use the model to solve. So we're gonna start off with a big, nice, somewhat looking square. Okay, mine's not perfect, yours does not need to be perfect either. And we're gonna start off with 2/3. So we're gonna divide this square into thirds. Okay, but we only have 2 of those thirds. So we're gonna shade in, and if you have colors, pause this video and use colors until you're ready. But if not, you can just use like different shading techniques. I'll kind of show you what I mean. Okay, so far we have 2/3 of a bag of flour. We don't have this third, it was already used. We use 3/4 of that. All right, so now going the opposite direction, we have to divide the square into fourths. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3/4. Okay, and we only want to use 3/4 of it. So let's say I don't have colors, I might just shade those 3/4 the other way. All right, now if you have colors, that's the easiest way to do it. We're shading those 3/4. Okay, 1, 2, 3/4 of those are red. Okay, now the way that we write our answer, okay, our answer is going to be the boxes that overlap. Okay, so we write our boxes that overlap over our number of boxes total. Okay, so let's show an example of that. So our boxes that overlap are going to be the ones that have red and yellow in it, which are going to be these ones right here. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to have 6 on the top. Out of the boxes total, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so our answer would be 6/12. But that's not simplified. We can divide both of those numbers by 6. Could also divide them by 2 and then by 3, but we could also just divide it by 6 right away, and we will get 1/2. Okay, now let's check it using the algorithm. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 3 is 12. So we know that we got it right. All right, let's try one more together. You exercise for 3/4 of an hour. You jump rope for 1/3 of that 3/4 of an hour of that time. What fraction of the hour do you spend jump roping? Use a model to solve. So we jump rope for 1/3 of 3/4, meaning that we're multiplying 1/3 and 3/4. That word of always means multiplication. Let's start off with that square, or what looks like a square. We have 3/4 of an hour. 1, 2, 3, 4. We shade, let's do different colors, 3 of them. Because we only have 3 of the fourths of an hour. And we jump rope for 1/3 of that time. So I divide it the opposite way into thirds, because that's my denominator, thirds. And we're shading in 1 of those. So 1 of those thirds. All right, the boxes that overlap are going to be our top number. So that's going to be 3 out of the number of boxes total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 3/12. Now 3/12 can be simplified because both of those numbers can be divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 1/4 would be our answer. All right. Pause the video. I want you to try this next one. Now, I want you to use the model. Okay, so you should be drawing the square on your paper and doing the model. You can check your answer with what we did above by multiplying just the two numbers, top and bottom, together. But I want you to practice using this model because it is a 6th grade standard that we know how to use the model for multiplying fractions. All right, so at this point, if we are resuming the video, we should have this model finished and we're just checking our answer. 2/5 of the animals in the dean's office fish tank are fish. Okay, so they might have like some crabs, some things that are not fish. Okay, but 2/5 of those animals are fish. 3/4 of those fish are goldfish. So even more specifically, 3/4 of those fish are goldfish. What fraction of all the animals in the fish tank are goldfish? So we have 3/4 are goldfish of the 2/5 that there are. So we are multiplying those fractions. We will start off with, it does not matter. Let's start off with 3/4. Again, if you started off with 2/5, so you have fifths going down, that's totally fine. It does not matter which way. Your answer should still be the same. It would just be like turned kind of sideways. All right, so we have 3/4. Oops, what am I doing? See, even I make mistakes. It's okay. That's what erasers are for. We need to shade 3 of those fourths. 1, 2, 3. All right, then we have fifths going the opposite way. Again, it's okay if you did it the wrong way. If not the wrong way, sorry. If you did it like the opposite way, we should still have the same amount that's shaded. 2/5. 1, 2. The boxes that overlap our numerator. That should be 6. Out of the number of boxes total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. She had 6/20ths. Sorry, that was the bell for passing period. Very last thing we need to just simplify this. 6 and 20 can both be divided by 2. So we get 6 divided by 2 is 3. 20 divided by 2 is 10. We can check our answer. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 5 is 20. So we know we did our model correctly. Okay. At this point, please pause the video or exit out and write your summary on what you learned today about multiplying fractions by fractions and modeling fractions by fractions.